Kia ora. Good afternoon. I was actually just about to say good morning. That's how quickly the day is flying past. Good afternoon. My name is Julie. I work for Aspire Canterbury. I'm here today with my colleagues Amy and Ty at the reception. And we're here today with the National Referral Centre and with Lifelinks. The purpose of today is to assist in the escalating numbers of individuals coming into our systems and into our community, and to see what information we can share in order that we can better understand how we can help some of the individuals out in our community. So I'm going to first up pass over to Ray, who works for the National Referral Centre. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm told there's a cup of tea or coffee there and sandwiches at you. I know it's quite much time. Yes, welcome. Do you shop? I did. I'm on pressing the right button. Cool. Press that? Yeah. So I'm Ray Williamson. I look after the National Referral Centre, and hopefully, and this is a conversation regarding eligibility for disability supports. It's just a conversation. Please, if you've got questions, please chip in. So the National Referral Centre, we cover 6 regions across Aotearoa. And the role for the National Referral Centre is to screen referrals sent in for disability supports for Whakaaha, the Ministry of Disabled People, Disability Support Services. We also have a high and complex team which supports other NASCs, all the NASCs across the country, with those complex referrals and situations. We work alongside Arama Tamariki for children who have disabilities, and we also work with providers of disability support services when they've got invoice rejections, basically, when they've got issues around invoicing. So that's the sort of work that we do. But our main work here is really that screening of the referrals for DSS supports. So eligibility for Whakaaha DSS supports. You must present for assessment for DSS support before the age of 65. If over 65 years of age and have not presented for disability support services previously, then the referral best sits with Te Whatu Ōra's Health of Older Persons service. You must have a physical, intellectual or sensory disability, or a combination of these, which is likely to remain after the provisions of rehabilitation, treatment, and also last for at least 6 months and result in ongoing support. Doesn't sound too bad, doesn't it, when you put it down into 4 steps? What do we need to help us do our role? And that is, our focus is trying to get the supports into place for people that require them as quickly as possible. The main thing, we do need confirmation of the disability. So a letter or containing the results of confirmation of a disability, or a report such as psychometric testing, got those on file to accompany a referral. That means we can progress that referral quickly. We can get on. We know that the information that we have confirms that confirms a disability, and we can get it across to Angie's team to start the process and get the supports in as quickly as possible. So what do we need? Diagnosis report or a clinical letter completed by an appropriate person, paediatrician, psychiatrist, psychologist, child development services. So these are the clinicians that we expect. For autism spectrum disorder, which is also now eligible for disability support, or should I say also eligible for an assessment on the Angie's service, we do need an appropriate report which uses the appropriate tool, such as the ADOS or this DSM-5 criteria for children in the cars. There's several tools out there that need to be, that helps. If they're used and we get that information, we're able to progress that referral reasonably quickly. So sometimes the referral doesn't sit with disability supports, and we do get referrals that we have to either go back to the referral source and suggest other pathways, such as first presented for over the age of 65, acute chronic health conditions such as epilepsy, chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain syndrome. They better sit with Tifata or as the long-term services for the chronic health condition. Post-operative supports, and usually on discharge they're put in by Tifata Aura's short-term services. Mental health conditions, addiction condition, not appropriate for disability supports. Fecal alcohol syndrome disorder, we do know that there is work in Whakahara around that, but at the moment it doesn't sit with disability support services. And obviously ACC is it's due to an accident. And one of the high ones, Meals on Wheels, we do get a few referrals requesting Meals on Wheels. That's not part of the disability referral process. And I just give you just a brief view of the kind of referrals. This is for Lifelinks referrals for August last month, and as you can see, that eligibility for referrals for autistic spectrum disorder, autism, far outweigh anything else that's coming. There is a huge increase in the referrals for people with autism. And they're just an age group, like the 5 to 17 is the largest group, cohort of people that are coming through with referrals for an assessment. They told off call it assessment, they call that compliance now. And that's just the year, as you can see, the trend line there is showing the increase the amount of eligible referrals in the Lifelinks region, as that trend line is slowly climbing over the year, and it's it continues. It hasn't been doing that for quite a matter of time. And should you want to make a referral, the referrals can be made by OMs, as you're probably fully aware, or we have a free phone, 0800 866 877, or there is a referral form online at nrcentre.co.nz. Anybody can make a referral. That can be a self-referral or me. So to get on that comes straight to us, and then we can start that screening process, start the whole referral. And once it's been screened and been accepted for an outcome plan, it goes across to Angie's team, and she carries on the process from there. So I'll pass you over.
Well, I'm Ange, and I'm from the Lifelinks side of what we do. So the purpose of Lifelinks is basically, it's really simple. We just want to improve the quality of life independence, participation, and access in the community. Okay, so all the supports we put in place are hopefully aiming to achieve those goals. Right, just to explain a little bit about where Lifelinks fits in the grand scheme of things. Whaikaha are our ministry, and that's great, fantastic. They make all the decisions, they give us the tools we need to use to work out what levels of supports people need, all that sort of good stuff. And then Lifelinks, we're here, so we do the planning and we allocate the supports. Sometimes those supports will go through to a host provider. Host providers look after budgets. And then under that is also the providers that can go out and provide the good stuff like home management, personal cares, supported independent living and all that sort of stuff, okay? So we have a really big region at Lifelinks. We look after the west coast, all of Canterbury, up the Kokura coast and down as far as about Oamaru. Okay, we support around 8,000 clients and their whānau in the community. Okay. And so what happens is Ray's team works out eligibility and then they come through to us and we allocate that through to a planner. Now we've got a team of planners who are all really experienced and they all have areas that they specialise in, so disabilities that they are more comfortable working, not comfortable working, they're comfortable with all disabilities, but have more experience working in those areas. We also have male and female, because some of our clients aren't comfortable, unless it's the same gender, etc. So we allocate the planner, and the planner can go and meet them in their own home, meet in a space like this. They can come to our office, that's entirely up to them. They can bring a support person. We just want to make it as comfortable as possible. Now, we don't call it a needs assessment anymore because that's pretty negative. So we do an outcome plan. We talk about goals. We talk about what they want to achieve. What we put in place is to support them in achieving their goals. And those goals can be pretty realistic, like mum needs some time out, or John wants to get out into the community, well, they can't do it on his own. So we're talking about those sort of goals. Okay, everything's taken at the client's pace. They get to look through everything. They sign a consent, and that consent allows us to contact other agencies and also refer out to providers where if that's what they would like. So that's what happens at the coordination. So the coordinator gets a look, looks at the plan, and then calls the client and says, right, we've got the plan. What can we put in place to help you achieve some of these goals? And we've got to keep aware that once they refer to us, they're with us for life, unless they move over to older person's health, if that is what is deemed appropriate at 65 or over. Often people will just stay with us because the supports that they require will always be more disabilities related than they will be older person's health. Okay, so now I've forgotten where I was. Isn't it terrible when you just start talking? So we look at all the supports that are available, and they can be funded supports. They can also be unfunded, community-based supports, like getting people working with various associations that look after their disability. And we also look at natural supports. We know that two families, the same level of disabilities within those families will require different supports depending on what the natural supports are. Okay, so we always take that into account. I know we're supposed to sort of allocate supports just around the disability, but that's not actually what life looks like, is it? And some people just need that little bit of extra help. During the coordination, we ask people, who would you like to work with? Who would you like to come into your house and assist you? And it's supposed to be person-driven, but of course, obviously, we're working in a really kind of tight market for support services. So we will also make suggestions around who has availability at the moment, because, waiting 6 months for someone to come in and do personal cares, that's just not going to work out. So we usually have great relationships with our providers, so we know who has got availability and who can get in there quickly. Okay, we have got 5 teams. We've got the children's team, the physical disabilities team, learning disabilities team, autism team, and community support team. Now, the children's team, that's fairly self-explanatory. So most of the new referrals do actually come in to the children's team, and then they'll go into either the physical or the learning disability team, depending on when they leave school, realistically, because we know that often people can stay at school till they're about 21, so often they'll go into an adult team when they're 21. Autism team is new. So this was put together because of those stats that Ray was showing you about the sheer volume of referrals we're getting through for autism. We also know that when you've got a new diagnosis for autism, you've spent a lot of time with clinicians, you've had a lot of people talking to you, and often the parents are just over it. The last thing they want is us sitting in their front room getting them to tell their story all over again. So what we do is once it comes through from referral, we give them a call and we talk about goals, and then we get some supports in place. People come to us from referral and they stay with us for a long time. So any plan we do is a living document. It evolves over time. Any supports we put in place, they also change. Supports required for a 6-year-old are going to be different to a 16-year-old. And often we find clients will come to us, and then the supports they need will go down quite a bit when they hit that 16 to 26-year-old age gap, because they don't want people coming in to their lives, kind of, they feel like they're being babysat. And so, but then once they get a bit older, often they'll come back and get more supports again. And the community support team, this is one that you guys can help us with as well. If you've got families that you know have got disability supports in place, but just don't know how to use them, and that can be filling out a carer support form, that can be accessing their IF budget, it can be a whole variety of different things, okay? Get in touch with me, let me know, and we can send a member of the community support team out, sit down, have a cup of tea with them and talk through the process and show them. Fill out a carer support form and leave it with them so that they can, redo that. So yeah, so please, if you've got a family in need, it's best to let us know, because the sooner we know, the more we can help. Right, you're probably really familiar with some of these supports that we can put in place around like the personal care, home management, modifications for houses, home support, which is helping people get back out into the community. Care support, you guys will be really familiar with that because you can assure it yourselves. Respite care, supported independent living, that's actually more for our people that are looking at moving out of home but don't have those life skills and they need ongoing help with things like reading the mail, paying the bills, accessing WINs, those kind of things. That's a really good support for that. Residential placements, obviously, but that is for people with a learning disability diagnosis and some physical disabilities, but usually that's come from through the hospital. Okay, and explore behavioural support services. Right, individualised funding. You've probably all heard a little bit about this. This is when we go to do a coordination, we look at the amount of hours of support, whatever that kind of support that is, we put the hours together and that's how we work out the support package. That budget sits with a host, like Manawanui, Geneva, Access, Healthcare New Zealand and Florence, okay? And they make the decision over what that support package can be used for. They've got purchasing guidelines, okay? And we don't get involved too much in that conversation, but what families want to purchase kind of has to be related to the goals that they've identified. So, for example, if a goal is mum needs some time out, mum wants a trampoline for her young person with autism, that actually could be a really good way of mum getting some time out. Because the kid bouncing on a trampoline for half an hour of an evening gives her a chance to have a shower, get the dinner on the table, all those sort of things. That was a bit sexist, wasn't it? I should change that to FTC rather than mum. But anyway. So there are all those sort of things, but it's not necessarily 100% simple to use. So if people go in and have an IF and they want to pay a support worker, they are the employer, and there are certain rules and regulations in New Zealand for being an employer that you need to be aware of. Now, these organisations will help people set that up, but if it's a family under a whole pile of stress, sometimes they don't need that, they just need a support worker to come in and help out. And if that support worker is sick, a different one will come, but at least they don't have to worry about all of the payroll side of that and all that sort of thing. I'm not being discouraging about IF, they're life-changing, having IF budgets, but it doesn't necessarily answer all the problems in the world. Sometimes people can have a support worker paid for directly by a provider and also a little IF budget to get some stuff that makes life easier, okay? And we are whole of life, okay? As I said before, we contact our clients every year to make sure that the right supports are in place, but that doesn't mean that we're not contactable the rest of the time during the year. Of course we're flexible, we deal with humans, lives change, support needs change, so we can respond to that. We also work with other agencies, so if we know that what is required isn't necessarily all going to come from us, we can help support people in working with other agencies, and we will do reassessments. It used to be that we did a reassessment every 3 years. We don't do that anymore. We do reassessments when they are required, and that can be shorter than 3 years, or it can be longer. For example, when a kid leaves school, usually we do a reassessment, just because the supports they need when they're in school often are different to the ones which they need when they've finished school, okay? But if you've got any families that are feeling confused about the supports they have in place, or you think that something's not quite right, I'll leave my business cards here, take one. Just give me a call, flick me an email, and we can look into it for you, okay? And there are my contact details there as well. Cool. And now it's time to Julie. Thank you.
So, kia ora, ko Julie toko ingoa. My name is Julie. I am manager for Aspire Canterbury. Our legal trading name is the Disabled Persons Centre Trust. We were established in 1982, so we've been around for just over 40 years. We work incredibly collaboratively with the National Referral Centre and with Lifelinks. We are a not-for-profit. We are ingrained into the community. We are grassroots. So I'll go through our purpose, our services, the eligibility to reach out to our services, and some did you knows. So first of all, our purpose, we do have permission to use the picture that is in this slide for anybody that might recognise the young person or young people that are in the slide. Our purpose is to remove the barriers for people to live their good life within their community. So this could be either through providing information, it could be through providing them with the total mobility scheme, which is to reduce the barriers of transportation for people to access their community, or it could be through mobility products in order for people to reduce the barrier of moving in their community. Before I go into our services, I thought it worth noting some statistics that are recent statistics. So these statistics are, I do have to thank Julia Rutledge, who is the Professor of Clinical Psychology at the University of Canterbury. This was in a recent lecture where child disorders in New Zealand, 2021 New Zealand Health Survey, between the years of 2011 to 2021, the rates of ADHD have increased by 73%. The rates of autism, which you've just seen in Ray's slide, have increased by 39%. Anxiety has increased by 76%. The message there being that we do have a problem of epidemic proportions. We do have to work collaboratively in order to help people within our communities. There are not enough practicing psychologists to get on top of these rates. And if we carry on the way that we are going, we will not get on top of these rates until the year 2040. That does not include any population increases. It might also be important to note that autism, as an example, we've seen the growing stats there. But in order to receive an autism assessment through our public health system currently, well, you're laughing already. So there are long wait lists, should I be polite to say, of approximately 18 months, dependent on how that might be triaged. And even now for a private assessment of autism, I was speaking to somebody recently who said that they have got a 9-month wait list and that their cost is anywhere between $800 to $1,800. The key message being there that we do need to work together. And a lot of these people will be people that are in and out of our GP surgeries with 20-minute time slots, with the expectation that that's going to change whatever is happening for them within their household. And this just doesn't make sense for anybody. So information, it's pretty intangible, isn't it? We can't see it, we can't feel it, we can't touch it. What actually is it? We are a generalist within our centre. So we have a lot of knowledge about many different things, but that knowledge doesn't always equate to depth. However, we are a very tenacious team, incredibly resilient, and we will go out there to find the answers to questions. Might be, for example, how are chronic health triaging at the moment? How is CAF triaging at the moment? Or whatever those questions might be, we're not afraid to ask them. I mentioned that we were established in 1982. We come under the umbrella of the New Zealand Federation of Disability Information Centres. There are 23 of us around New Zealand. We are a collaborative umbrella. We publish a directory which is in front of you there, and please feel free to take a copy. The directory is hard copy with a QR code at the front of the directory in order for you to be able to scan that to take you to a real-time information directory online. Just here. It does have separate headings in the front. So if it was that you were looking for accommodation, for example, there are separate headings. And then there is an ability for you to look up that in alphabetical order and write your notes. So you can see I spoke with Ray, and he was great. I will speak with Ray again. Whatever that might be in your notes there, okay? There is also some information in the back of that booklet around total mobility. We provide workshops, so there's been much confusion with the establishment of Whaikaha, Ministry of Disabled People, with enabling good lives. What is it? What does that mean? Who can go where, for what, the navigation of different services, respite options, autism support, housing, navigation of systems in general. There are also a lot of questions that are asked by whānau with regards to my young disabled adult is now leaving the education system. What are the options for them next? That expo we ran in July this year, thank you, Amy, there was just under 400 people in attendance. So it just goes to show the enormity of the questions that exist in the environment around options. Total mobility scheme. So we're trying to make this a little bit easier for the GP practices in particular. We have 3 trained assessors at Aspire Canterbury that can speak with individuals about their eligibility for this scheme. That eligibility might include invisible disabilities. It could include mental health, high anxiety, for example. It could be physical disability. We're really happy to speak with people to understand their eligibility for the scheme. This scheme offers people 75% off of their taxi fare, up to $70. Uber is not included. One question we do get asked. We have a shop. So our shop, although it does sell mobility items, we don't view it as being a shop. We view it as being a Pandora's box of beautiful people's life stories. They will come in for a piece of equipment, but quite often there is a lot happening for that person, and we can understand how it is that they're navigating the systems, whether or not they would be eligible for funded equipment, or what else might be happening for them where we may be able to assist. It is not profit making. We do not have a profit margin. We are not a social enterprise. We have a handling charge and we have a freight charge within the margin of the product. It fits with our charitable purpose in terms of reducing barriers for people to live their good life within their own homes, within their community. For those who have low or no income, we do have items donated, and people have contacted us for items where they have not been able to afford them. And if it is that we do not have them in-house, we will, where we can, see whether or not we can obtain items for people. We have a mobile service. So our mobile service is essentially out on the road. So by sheer nature of what we do, it's very difficult for some people to get to us here at the Braintree Wellness Centre, although it's a very accessible building. Our mobile service goes out once a week around Christchurch. We do go out rurally, so we have been to Kaikoura and Timaru and Ashburton and Akaroa. If it is that you know somebody that would like to access our services for mobile services, just please ask them to reach out and we will see how we can assist them. So, eligibility. We talked earlier, and Ray signified earlier, that they need a confirmed diagnosis. So for these individuals that are sitting in the wait lists, we can be incredibly resourceful and very inventive with regards to where else can people get supports. So these are your escalating numbers of individuals coming with diagnoses of dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD, on wait lists for autism, many different things. We will speak with all individuals, we will connect them to services, we will speak with people from the ages of 0 to 100 plus, and we work with all people with disabilities residing in the area. We did talk earlier today about defining disability, and it's quite hard, and I think something that makes it difficult for our communities is we have the Ministry of Social Development who have a disability allowance. And so somebody with an ADHD diagnosis may be eligible for that. And so then we have this question of, okay, well, if they have a disability allowance, therefore they are identifying as disabled, and so therefore they'll be eligible for supports through Lifelinks. And it makes it very confusing for people. Next week, Thursday, we do have a navigation systems hui. It is oversubscribed for people to come face to face, but there are still spots for people to come online if they wish to do so. We will have Lifelinks here and Te Whātau Order and Enabling Good Lives. The purpose of today's hui was really so people understand how they might be able to access this service here in terms of people coming into the health systems. So how can you refer to us? We are on ERMS. You can refer to us through ERMS. We did also put in this did you know slide that there is a discretionary pot of funds that sit with the GPs. An example of that would be where they can provide somebody with carer support. And many of the GPs don't know that, and that's not to say that we would expect them to, by the way, we definitely wouldn't. That's 20 minutes that they're speaking with a whole lot of families. But we're really happy to work very collaboratively to understand what are some of the challenges that are occurring here and how is it that we can work together in order to reduce the amount of time that's being spent. Having those individuals in the right places for the right supports, essentially. Here are our contact details. So of course, this is the Braintree Wellness Centre. We are one of the tenants here of approximately 12 different charitable trusts that exists within this building. We have a beautiful collaborative relationship with our NASC, our Needs Assessment Service Coordination Services. Our details are on the slide here. My name is Julie. This is Ty, and this is Amy. And we're now going to welcome any questions. Thank you.